Exploring the Power of Herd Mentality. Examination of Classic Experiments. Introduction. Herd mentality, also known as mob mentality or crowd psychology, is a fascinating and often perplexing aspect of human behavior. The tendency for individuals to conform to the actions and beliefs of a larger group, even when those beliefs or actions may conflict with their own personal judgment, has long been a subject of intense study and fascination for psychologists, sociologists, and behavioral scientists. Through a series of classic experiments, researchers have shed light on the profound impact that herd mentality can have on our decision-making, our actions, and our very sense of self. In this script, we will delve into the details of several landmark studies exploring the underlying mechanisms that drive this powerful phenomenon and the insights they offer into the human condition. Asch's conformity experiments. One of the most famous and influential studies on herd mentality was conducted by the social psychologist Solomon Asch in the 1950s. Asch's conformity experiments aimed to investigate the extent to which an individual's judgments and behaviors could be influenced by the opinions and actions of a group. In the basic setup of the experiment, a participant was placed in a room with several Confederate actors posing as participants. The group was then shown a series of line segments and asked to identify which line was the same length as a reference line. The catch was that the Confederates had been instructed to unanimously provide an incorrect answer for a certain number of trials. The results were remarkable. Even when the participant was certain that the group's answer was wrong, a significant proportion of them, approximately 75%, conformed to the group's incorrect response at least once during the experiment. Asch found that the desire to avoid being seen as different or deviant from the group was a powerful motivator for conformity, even in the face of clear evidence that the group was wrong. The implications of Asch's findings were profound. They demonstrated that individuals could be swayed to abandon their own senses and judgment in favor of the group, a phenomenon with far-reaching consequences in areas such as decision-making, social influence, and even obedience to authority.
Milgram's obedience experiments. Building on the insights from Asch's conformity experiments, the psychologist Stanley Milgram conducted a series of experiments in the 1960s that further explored the power of herd mentality and its connection to obedience to authority. In Milgram's study, participants were instructed by an authority figure, the experimenter, to administer increasingly severe electric shocks to a learner, an actor pretending to be a participant, whenever the learner answered a question incorrectly. The shocks were, in reality, not real, but the participants were led to believe that they were administering dangerous and potentially lethal levels of electricity. Despite their initial reluctance and even visible distress, a majority of participants, approximately 65%, continued to obey the experimenter's orders and administer the highest level of shock, even when the learner's pleas and screams indicated they were in severe pain or even unconscious. Milgram's findings were both shocking and illuminating. They demonstrated that even in the face of clear moral and ethical concerns, individuals could be compelled to act against their own better judgment and inflict harm on others simply due to the presence of an authority figure and the pressure to conform to the group's actions. The Milgram experiments have had a profound impact on our understanding of human behavior, highlighting the powerful influence that social context and hierarchical structures can have on our decision-making and moral reasoning. Sharif's Robbers Cave Experiment. While the Ash and Milgram experiments focused on the influence of conformity and obedience to authority, the Robbers Cave experiment, conducted by the social psychologist Muzafer Sherif in the 1950s, explored the dynamics of in-group and out-group formation and the role of competition in shaping intergroup attitudes and behaviors. The Robbers Cave experiment was conducted with a group of 12-year-old boys who were brought to a summer camp in Robbers Cave State Park in Oklahoma. The boys were divided into two groups and kept unaware of each other's existence during the first phase of the experiment. During this initial phase, each group engaged in various team-building activities and developed a strong sense of group identity and cohesion. Once the two groups were made aware of each other's presence, the researchers introduced a series of competitive tasks and rewards, pitting the groups against one another. The results were striking. The once friendly and cooperative boys quickly transformed into fierce rivals, engaging in acts of sabotage, name-calling, and even physical aggression towards the outgroup. The participants' strong in-group loyalty and desire to outperform the other group led to the emergence of negative stereotypes, prejudices, and even hostility towards the outsiders. Sherif's experiment demonstrated the ease with which individuals can form strong group identities and the speed with which these identities can lead to intergroup conflict and division. The study has had far-reaching implications for understanding the dynamics of group behavior, the origins of prejudice and discrimination, and the potential for cooperation and conflict in diverse social settings. Zimbardo's Stanford Prison Experiment. The Stanford Prison Experiment, conducted by the social psychologist Philip Zimbardo in 1971, is perhaps one of the most famous and controversial studies on the power of situational influences and herd mentality. In this experiment, Zimbardo and his team randomly assigned college students to either the role of prisoner or guard in a simulated prison environment set up in the basement of the Stanford Psychology Department. The participants were instructed to play their assigned roles, and the researchers observed the unfolding dynamics. What started as a relatively benign experiment quickly spiraled out of control as the guards began to abuse their power and the prisoners succumbed to a sense of helplessness and submission. The guards engaged in increasingly sadistic and dehumanizing behaviors, while the prisoners displayed a range of emotional and psychological distress, including depression, anxiety, and even psychosomatic symptoms. Zimbardo's experiment demonstrated the profound impact that the social context and power dynamics can have on individual behavior. The participants, who were seemingly ordinary college students, quickly adopted the mindsets and behaviors associated with their assigned roles, often to a disturbing degree. The study highlighted the ease with which individuals can lose their sense of personal identity and moral compass when placed in a situation that encourages conformity and the abuse of power. The Stanford Prison Experiment has been the subject of intense debate and criticism, with some arguing that the experiment was too extreme and that Zimbardo failed to intervene in a timely manner. Nonetheless, the study remains a powerful and thought-provoking exploration of the darker aspects of human nature and the potential for herd mentality to lead to the erosion of moral and ethical standards. Aronson and Mills' Severity of Initiation Experiment. The Severity of Initiation Experiment, conducted by Elliot Aronson and Jacqueline Mills in 1959, explored the relationship between the severity of an initiation ritual and an individual's subsequent commitment to the group. In this study, participants were randomly assigned to one of three conditions: a severe initiation, a mild initiation, or no initiation at all. The severe initiation group was required to read aloud a series of sexually explicit passages, while the mild initiation group read neutral passages. The control group underwent no initiation. After the initiation, all participants were exposed to a group discussion that was deliberately designed to be boring and uninteresting. The researchers then measured the participants' level of commitment to the group, as well as their evaluation of the group and its members. The results were surprising. The participants who underwent the severe initiation displayed a much stronger commitment to the group and more positive evaluations of its members, compared to the mild initiation and control groups. The researchers concluded that the more severe the initiation, the more individuals were motivated to justify their decision to join the group and to view the group in a more favorable light. This phenomenon, known as the effort justification effect, suggests that individuals are driven to rationalize and validate their past actions, even when those actions were initially unpleasant or costly. The severity of initiation experiment demonstrated the power of herd mentality and the ways in which individuals can internalize and justify their allegiance to a group, even in the face of seemingly irrational or unpleasant experiences. Sharif's autokinetic effect experiment. In the 1930s, the social psychologist Muzafer Sharif conducted a series of experiments that explored the formation of group norms and the influence of social context on individual perception and judgment. One of Sharif's most notable experiments, known as the autokinetic effect experiment, took advantage of a perceptual illusion known as the autokinetic effect. When an individual is presented with a stationary point of light in a dark room, the light appears to move, even though it is not actually moving. In Sharif's experiment, participants were asked to estimate the distance the light had moved. When participants were tested individually, their estimates varied widely, reflecting the subjective nature of the perceptual experience. However, when participants were placed in a group setting and asked to provide their estimates in the presence of others, a remarkable transformation occurred. The participants' individual estimates began to converge, with each person's judgment aligning more closely with the group's emerging consensus. Over time, the group developed a shared norm or group standard for estimating the distance of the light's movement. Sharif's findings demonstrated the powerful influence that the social context and the presence of others can have on our perceptions and judgments, even in the face of ambiguous or subjective stimuli. The experiment highlighted the human tendency to seek out and conform to group norms, even when those norms may not necessarily reflect objective reality. The autokinetic effect experiment has had significant implications for our understanding of how individuals navigate uncertain or ambiguous situations and the ways in which social influence can shape our beliefs, attitudes, and behaviors. Conclusion. The experiments discussed in this script represent only a small sample of the extensive research that has been conducted on herd mentality and its impact on human behavior. From the conformity experiments of Ash to the obedience studies of Milgram, and from the group dynamics explored by Sharif to the power of situational influences examined by Zimbardo, these classic studies have provided invaluable insights into the complex and often puzzling ways in which we, as individuals, are influenced by the presence and actions of others. These experiments have demonstrated that herd mentality is a powerful and pervasive force, shaping our judgments, our decisions, and even our moral reasoning. They have shown that the desire to belong, the fear of standing out, and the tendency to defer to authority can all contribute to the erosion of our personal autonomy and the emergence of collective behaviors that may not always align with our individual values and beliefs. Yet, these studies have also highlighted the resilience and adaptability of the human mind. They have shown that, with increased self-awareness and a deeper understanding of the forces that shape our behavior, we can learn to navigate the complex social landscape and assert our own sense of agency and individuality, even in the face of overwhelming group pressure. As we continue to grapple with the challenges and complexities of modern life, the lessons and insights gleaned from these classic herd mentality experiments will undoubtedly remain relevant and crucial to our ongoing efforts to understand and navigate the human condition.